Today I am going to attempt to cover forward paddling. Okay, forward paddling, how does it work? Well, I want to start with where the power comes from. The power comes from a technique known as torso rotation. What that means is using the power of your back muscles and your core muscles through rotational force of your shoulders and your spine. I like to demonstrate it like this. When I place my hands out in front of me, my fingers are even. You can clearly see where they are. Now, if I rotate my torso while keeping my arms straight, you can see that now my right hand is approximately 30 centimeters ahead of my left hand. And then if I rotate my torso the other way, it is further 30 centimeters reversed. So you add them together and you get around about 60 centimeters of travel with straight arms. What does that look like with a paddle? In paddling, we do not just place our paddle in the water like this behind our feet. Instead, we rotate our torso so that the paddle gets placed slightly ahead of the feet. Then we can rotate our torso, which draws the paddle back, that equivalent 60 centimeters. All that travel is with a relatively straight arm. So put that all together. You place the paddle using torso rotation, and then you draw the torso rotation back. As that torso rotation unwinds and winds up in the other direction, you see that the paddle comes nearly level with the hips. You draw back to the hips, and that is the end of your effective power band in paddle. So from here, paying attention to the edge of the blade, we knife the blade out of the water and forward into the next position. Let's look at that again. But this time, let's look at the top hand. When I rotate my torso to place the paddle, the top hand is center line of the boat and forward, slightly higher than my head. Paddle's placed. The top hand functions as a fulcrum from here. We do not punch forward. It simply serves as a fulcrum. Now, we engage torso rotation, which drives the paddle back, rotates the spine and the shoulders. The top hand did appear to move forward, but that's simply because the top shoulder is moving forward. When we get to this position, we knife the blade out of the water and directly into the fulcrum position and engage the other paddle in position. We go from a wound up torso, unwind, rewind to the other side, remove the paddle, set new position, and continue on. Pay attention to the top hand. The position of the top hand is in line with the center of the kayak, above my head, so I can see through this area here. When I wind my torso up, it's still center line. I plant the blade, it's still center line. I engage torso rotation, it's still center line. I draw the power blade back, I remove the power blade, out using the edge of the blade and forward to that position. And that movement sets the next stroke. Always remember, the top hand is simply a fulcrum. We are not punching out. We are simply operating as a fulcrum, and any forward and backwards motion is caused by the rotation of the shoulder. We never draw the paddle past our hips. Any stroke that goes past the hips tends to lift water, tends to introduce excessive bending of the elbow, and can lead to a loss of stability. Also, paddle strokes past the hips tend to contribute more to turning than forward momentum. So to recap, use torso rotation. Place the paddle in at the toes, rotate your torso, remove the paddle at your hips. Knife the paddle out and forwards directly into the top hand position.